Why is there so much sexual violation and violence? Our country seems to be getting more violent, and it's easy to feel hopeless when there's actually a lot you can do to change it without much effort at all. And there's certainly a lot that needs to be done, but one of the things we can do is uproot it at the roots. What would an erotically enlightened society look and feel like? And how can we get there? Superfvck unveils the secrets of his erotically enlightened home planet, Gonad, this week on the Blue Ball Report. Welcome to the Blue Ball Report. I'm your host, Digger, offering you free sex and relationship coaching and inviting you to our fabulous and free first birthday event. For a limited time, I'm offering free sex and relationship coaching sessions via Zoom. And second, I want to invite you to the first birthday celebration of the Blue Ball Report on Saturday, February 6th at 10 a.m. PST. It won't happen here on YouTube, but it will happen in a private Zoom room. For more details about both of these great freebies, please watch this recent video linked here and in the video description. We've created a very unique birthday event to learn, meet, mingle, ecstatic dance, and build sex-positive community of Blue Ball fans like you. A Saturday morning Zoom get-together to watch an inspiring talk on emotional education, and then we'll break out into small groups to learn and share meaningful conversations with evolutionary pleasure activists like you. After the talking and learning, stick around to mingle by exploring the various Zoom breakout rooms for small conversations or join the ecstatic dance room. See the description for details and links. But for today, we're answering a different part of a viewer's question from last week's episode. If you missed it, we'll link to it here. So like that particular viewer, and probably like plenty of you, I'm also disgusted and want to know how we can stop sexual violation and violence in our society. To answer that, I'm here with Superfvck, the super sex hero, a sexually enlightened superhero for sex positivity from the planet Gonad. Superfvck, you've been here a minute. You come from a sexually enlightened planet. What do you think? But maybe you should start with a little bit of your background so we can understand your expertise on the matter. Let's start from where you came from and why. You see, my planet Gonad, far across the galaxy, used to be as fucked up as this blue ball you call Earth. But my ancestors worked hard at changing the way we live and do things to turn our planet into the sexually enlightened planet it has been for many eons. But then recently, we started to notice bizarre cases of sex negativity, such oddities as masturbatory shame and oops, wrong hole. Of course, we immediately gathered a team of gamete scientist experts who made an investigation. And what they found was that these blips in the sex force of the universe were ripples of sex negativity coming from this sexually frustrated, swollen blue ball planet. Our scientists determined that if left unchecked, this festering mess could infect the entire galaxy, like a toxic ruining our utopia, and possibly the entire universe with it. So I was sent here to save the sex force of the universe, with a mission to liberate libidos and thwart coitus lame-ass. Which, by the way, to call on my services, just point and hold your middle finger towards the sky. And remember, kids, lick it before you stick it. Cling! Wow, that's quite a mission, Superfvck. Thank you for working to save our little planet and the universe. You must be very busy. What are you finding? This place is a fucking mess, I must admit. What the fuck are you guys thinking? Oh wait, you're not thinking. That's probably why. And back to the question. Well, Digger, there are so many answers to that question, I don't even know where to begin. I do see a lot being done in this effort to fight violence, but not enough addressing the root of the problem, and there are several. You see, blue ballers often focus too much on the wrong question and not enough on the right question. The wrong question being, how do we stop X problem? And the right question is, how do we prevent X problem? Too often I see blue ballers approaching problems seeking a cure, a one quick fix to a problem after it arises. But research shows that preventative measures are cheaper and more effective, and yet these preventative measures are often dismissed, devalued, or ignored. I would say blue ballers spend too much time being reactive rather than proactive, addressing symptoms rather than the cause. For example, everyone wants a cure to cancer, but the fact is we already have cures for cancer. Stop making cancer-causing chemicals and putting them in your environment, and that will cure a huge percentage of cancer. Eat enough fiber daily, that will cure another huge percentage. On and on and on. So everyone wants a cure to violence. So you plan a reaction for when it happens. Punishment and prison. where us gametes would pay more attention, looking for the root causes that give rise to violence and working to prevent it before it happens. You see, violence is like a virus, and the way to stop a virus is to make the environment such that it can't spread. In general, I think blue ballers should be more like us gametes of Gonad and focus less on the symptoms and the outcome of a problem and more attention to preventing such problems to even take root. But how can we get people to think like that? Well, it takes education and training to get our brains to think analytically, to see cause and effect, to understand statistics over anecdotes, to look beyond the surface and dig back to the roots. Hey, that's a big reason why I named myself Digger. On Gonad, we educate all young gametes to think critically so they can understand and seek out the mechanism of cause and effect. And this allows them to support problem preventative strategies. Yeah, we don't get critical thinking classes until some of us get it in college. And people who can't think critically make good sheep. But that can backfire, as good sheep can go rabid, like they did at the Capitol on January 6th, and they don't make for a healthy democracy. On Gonad, we have a Ministry of Happiness, an agency that works to research and implement policies that give us and our society more happiness, peace, and fulfillment. You already have the same knowledge we have, you just don't take advantage of it. For example, one of our goals is to ensure that all babies and children are wanted, loved, nourished, and nurtured. Research shows that the first years of life and early childhood are pivotal to life's trajectory, and that unwanted, unloved, unnourished, or unnurtured babies overwhelmingly tend to grow up as dysfunctional and often violent adults. So we work to prevent that outcome, which means most of our adults are exceptionally functional in life and society. Well, how do you do that? Many ways, including sex education, access to birth control, adoption, and abortion for pregnant people who don't want or are not ready for babies, and therapeutic support for pregnant gametes who have to make tough choices. See, that reminds me of a study discussed in the movie Freakonomics. Around 1990, there was a big drop in crime that no one could explain. And people offered all sorts of various reasons, like, oh, there's really tough crime laws, or there's really good economic prosperity, but spoiler alert, the research indicates overwhelmingly. See, much of the total crime in society is committed by males in their 20s, and Roe versus Wade made abortion accessible across the country about 20 years before, 1973, and that reduced the number of unwanted babies that would be in their 20s in that time frame in the early 90s. So watch the movie for details. I'll give a link in the description, but the evidence is clear. Unwanted babies feeling unloved are more likely to grow up into dysfunctional, even violent adults. That's right, Digger. When people have control of their reproductive destiny, more babies are more wanted, growing up into an adult population that is more functional. Yeah, I can see that, but a lot of violence comes from competition for resources and lack of economic opportunities, economic desperation, racism. Right, and we continue to work on those issues too. See, we have technology doing most of the hard labor. So the only kind of jobs that people need to do either require a human touch or they're creative or scientific. Yeah, but humans are so afraid of technology taking our jobs and leaving us unemployed. Correction. People are not afraid of being unemployed. People are afraid of losing their income, food, and shelter. You decided as a society to tie resource distribution to work, but we've decoupled the two. After all, the whole point of making technology is to offload work to machines so that us people can enjoy life, right? You see, every gamete gets stock in our technology companies, whose dividends provide a basic income for food, clothing, and shelter. Then everyone has free time to pursue the life of their dreams, where they have the opportunity to make more money if they want, or just enjoy their time more. With everyone ensured the basic dignity of food, clothing, and shelter, there's less impetus for violence or crime. Yeah, but a lot of people would counter, doesn't that make lazy people who do nothing? Sure, some people appear to choose to do nothing, but often they're actually doing work we don't see, like introspection, self-discovery, learning, parenting. We all need and enjoy periods of doing nothing to recharge. And sometimes for some people that can be many years. But most of us get bored with that eventually. Most people eventually crave meaning, accolades, creativity, community, connection, and the physical or mental challenge and the growth of work. I would say that most people who don't want to do work, it's not because they're lazy, it's because the work is very unfulfilling. People in general are far less lazy when they find work that suits their personality. So we provide opportunity and support for that. Either way, it's okay by us, it's their lives. We don't need many gametes working. Our economy is productive with machines doing most of the work. Our education system has learning experiences for all ages, and everyone learns subjects that foster skills for fulfilling life and relationships, as well as those needed to support the functioning democracy. This includes things like psychology, relationships, critical thinking, history, nutrition, sociology, sexology, parenting. Beyond that, they can choose subjects that inspire them rather than trudging through subjects they loathe or don't suit them. The research shows that we get happiness and fulfillment not by materials, but by meaning and human connection. For many people, meaning comes from helping others. We actually did a whole episode about that. I'll link that here. Gametes learn this when they are young, which sets them on a life path of fulfillment. But blue ballers, on the other hand, are brainwashed with an insidious lie that hooks them into materialism like a drug. Looking for fulfillment, it only provides in short burst highs, leaving people empty, unhappy, and not understanding why. Us gametes can work part-time or full-time or not at all, but most of us do work, since we experience in our schooling how rewarding work can be. Wow, you guys are so evolved. Sounds like you have a great economic system, great technology, and a great education system. The thing is, Digger, all of this knowledge and understanding already exists on the blue ball. You just need to implement it and build the infrastructure to support it. You have built and you are building machines to offload the work, but you haven't updated the means of resource distribution so that everyone can eat and everyone benefits. We have education and support for gametes of all ages to develop all kinds of intelligence, including emotional, relationship, sexual, logical. Things I think would help on the blue ball is sex education, that is relationship education, so that people understand themselves and each other with social skills that build functional relationships. In this, less people are likely to resort to violence and desperation or dysfunction. This includes consent and boundaries, how to know them, share them, and respect them. We also encourage all gametes to foster self-love and discovery. This means not shaming, we actually welcome masturbation in private. Because when we explore to find our pleasures, we also find our boundaries, and knowing our boundaries helps us prevent them from being crossed. Our education system teaches gametes how to say no and how to react if assaulted. But we also work to reduce the number of offenders by building a society of emotionally intelligent and sexually empowered people. Our sex ed includes an erotica writing course to find our desires as well as hone our vocabulary for communicating about sex. You also need to shift the culture so that female sexuality is embraced, and for men to embrace their feelings. I'm really astonished at the level of institutionalized and forced ignorance about sex here on the blue ball, something as powerful and potentially consequential and universal as sex. Instead of teaching about that, you teach on and on about polynomial factors and stuff that nobody uses. You have the information you need, and yet you've built impossible obstacles to honest, productive, accurate discussions and sharing of information that can prevent or enable so many of these powerful consequences. Besides, it could spare me from some of these most ridiculous rescue calls. People getting potatoes lost up their colon. Dudes who don't know, don't put your penis in a vacuum cleaner, okay? I had one girl lost cocktail weenies up her vag. Whatever you put up there, make sure you have a way to put it out. And foods and vagina, not a good combo. Blue ballers could choose happiness by fostering sex positivity and sexual empowerment, and instead, blue ballers choose ignorance and shame and suffering. This just spreads unnecessary misery and violence across the planet. And the disregard, even disdain for pleasure, actually results in more violence and suffering than you think. Yeah, I'm reading this book, The Erotic Mind by Jack Morin, and I have a quote. "Those who establish comfortable acceptance of their erotic urges are the least likely to inflict harm upon themselves or others," unquote. And actually, research has shown bodily pleasure and violence have an either-or relationship. The presence of one inhibits the development of the other. In sex-positive societies where adolescent sexual behavior is tolerated, often structured in positive ways, individuals tend to grow up seeking pleasure instead of violence. And conversely, in sex-negative societies where adolescent sexual behavior is not tolerated, individuals tend to grow to seek violence instead. So it basically means that more sex-positive cultures are more peaceful and less violent. And if you look out in the world, think of the two most violent forces in the world. radical Islam, and the United States. And think of how sex negative they both are. And if you don't believe that sexual neglect leads to problems, watch the historical movie Hysteria. In the 1800s, women were often diagnosed with a disorder they called hysteria, where women were emotional, irrationally upset, or frenzied. And doctors treated this condition with a hand massage of their genitals until the stress was released, and usually very loudly and audibly. At the time, the doctors didn't recognize they were masturbating the women. This being their only sexual release is what helped calm their composure until the next visit. And actually, a doctor did it so much he was wearing out his hands, and then he invented the vibrator. And that's true, that's how the vibrator was created. This is why some gammies go into sex work, which is a respected profession on Gonad. And remember, on Gonad, you don't need to work, but some feel called to provide sexual healing and development. It provides a valuable service for both workers and clients, and yet here, prostitution has been illegal for eternity. Yes, for now, but optimistically, a lot of evidence-based health and human rights advocacy groups such as Amnesty International, the World Health Organization, Human Rights Watch, and others, they're recommending that consensual sex work be decriminalized as a health and human right issue. I personally believe that sex work was made illegal as a means to disempower women, because when women could sell sex, they had economic power and then therefore political power. So the men were like, we need to kibosh this thing and make sex work illegal. And what happened when they did that? Male pimps came in and basically took the power of the female prostitutes. But then eventually came the internet, and female prostitutes were able to work without pimps by screening their clients from afar. So there we have the situation where the power of the sex workers is back in the hands of the sex workers. And then what happened? The government took the power again by passing Sosta Festa, which happened a few years ago, which basically banned that from being able to happen on the internet. Now, the argument then was the same argument I often hear, which is that if we allow sex work, therefore sex trafficking is going to happen. And so we need to stop sex work to stop sex trafficking. But the two are very different and distinguished. And it was much easier for law enforcement to find the sex trafficking when sex work was actually able to be on the internet. Yeah, but that's like saying clothing should be illegal to stop sweatshops. Sex trafficking should never be tolerated, and neither should sweatshops, nor any form of slavery. We found by decriminalizing sex work, there's less demand for sex trafficking, and it's easier for our police to find and uproot. Right, Superfvck. That's a lot of insightful and hopeful details. But what can viewers do? Well, first they can join the cause. It would be arrogant and ridiculous for anyone, even a super sex hero like me, to claim I have all the answers. I'm new to this planet. There's so much dysfunction I can't see it all from my perspective. A thorough analysis needs input from everyone. So I pose the question to you, dear viewer. What do you think would help make the blue ball a sexually enlightened planet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Other suggestions? Become a ruthless deshamifier. Be a model for sex positivity. Stand up for sexual liberation in your daily interactions. When you see sex negativity, gently model a better way to call people in. Keep learning by reading and connecting with sex-positive community, which helps the world and your own relationships and love life. Also, you can make our world more sex-positive by sharing this channel or a favorite episode with even just one friend. Easy links are in the video description. This one-click protest from pleasure activists like you gets us one step closer to a more sex-positive world, so thank you. Also, there are many organizations working on behalf that you can support. I'll put a link in the description, but you could support this channel with a one-time donation or Patreon subscription. Scan these codes for paypal.me/blueballreport or Venmo at DiggerKeith. So that's all it takes, Superfvck, to make Earth an erotically enlightened planet. Oh hell no. That's just fixing a few problems to bring you to base level sex neutral. If you want to be erotically enlightened, it'll take much more growth than one episode. But it's a rewarding climactic journey, and we'll take you along with us each week if you hit that subscribe button. Reminisce and review the first year for the anniversary episode of the Blue Ball Report. We'll include future plans and answer your questions that you leave in the comments below. Next week, at the same fucking time, same fucking channel. Meanwhile, liberate your libido with the videos in this playlist. Farewell and fuck well.